Alright, Bonehawks, this video is all about every Mortal Kombat character. I have a theory that by the time Mortal Kombat 1 is done, that we'll have almost every character. I don't want to say every character, because I think some are kind of, will be relegated to the Invasions kind of off-brand kind of a thing. But I think that we'll see every character in some aspect. So I thought it might be fun to rank them all for you, to give you an idea of what my favorite Mortal Kombat characters of all time are. So I created a tier list. We have 4 tiers. So we have the best or my favorite characters, then we have solid characters, then we have weak characters, and then never again. Like hard no, please no. And this is from a design perspective, definitely not like a gameplay perspective. It's just what I think of the characters. So this is just my opinion. Let me know yours. But that being said, let's get to the tier list.
Accept your death.
Alright, so starting with everyone's favorite Scorpion. Got that kind of sob story, you know, he's just cool design. The spear is super unique. Of course, teleporting, hellfire, all that kind of thing. It's hard to talk too much on story because Mortal Kombat 1 kind of flipped all that on its head a little bit, but I'll say like the majority of his story is pretty cool. So I'm going to put him in a solid. I've just never been a fan of like the poster boy type characters, like as far as like really enjoying them. I know a lot of people have nostalgia for that kind of thing where they're kind of like, yeah, you know, like, all right, I played him when I was a kid, so he's just always my favorite. He's my go-to guy, you know? Like I'm sure some of you feel about Sub-Zero here. So Bihan, so this is the Elder Sub-Zero. I think just Sub-Zero in general is a solid character. Yeah. He's got a good storyline. I like the kind of grittiness of Bihan, you know, especially when he becomes Noob Saibot, aka Noob Sailboat. So I just think he's a solid character. Then the younger Sub-Zero, Kuai Liang, same idea, solid character. I think they're both written well, and it's kind of cool that we get to see them finally interact a little bit, even if it is kind of this weird Scorpion dynamic in MK1. But I've always been a fan of him as well. And I'm not sure why there's a third Sub-Zero here. I think this is like cameo Sub-Zero, so like original Sub-Zero, who would technically be Bihan. So I guess I'll just put him up there anyways, just because why not? So next we have Sonya Blade, and in my opinion, just kind of weak. Kind of a flat personality over the years, just kind of that Special Forces. But I'm just not really into the whole Special Forces characters, really. Like, they just don't really do it for me that much. So I just find them kind of boring in general. And Sonya, I will say, of course, is an iconic character. So I can't really take anything away from her there. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just not really my jam as far as, since this is my tier list and my opinion. And opinions are like orgasms, you know. Only mine counts, and I don't really care that you have one. So let's do Liu Kang next. So I think Liu Kang, I gotta say he's solid. Like he's not a character that I would ever play, but you gotta admit that he's like the dragon fire things and the bicycle kick. The bicycle kick in itself a household name, you know. So I think that I gotta say he's a solid character. Not a character that I really care to play ever, but solid character. Raiden, so young Raiden, I'm going to treat Raiden as if he's just one entity, and he's just weak to me. I just don't like his storytelling, the way that they wrote him. They had this cool opportunity to do like this dark Raiden story arc in MK11 and just like killed him off within like the first act. Like it was very disappointing. I was really looking forward to that, but unfortunately we got a little blue balled on that one. Next is young Jonathan Cage, and I think that he's a solid character. He's funny, he's obviously the comic relief to some aspect. It is a little unbelievable finding him in some of these predicaments sometimes, but he's, I don't know, he's always made me laugh. I like the Johnny Cage announcer, just the little quirks and nicknames he comes up with people is always pretty cool, so yeah, solid character. Kano, he's weak to me. I'm not super impressed by Kano. He's cool and all, like you know, he's like the stereotypical bad guy and did a good job making him kind of gross, you know, would you settle for me sausage kind of a thing. But as far as my personal favorite characters, he's not up there. He's weak, but you know, he's not too far out of the solid in my opinion. But again, just my opinion. Goro, Also weak. Just doesn't really interest me. Just kind of like Goro Smash kind of a thing. There's not really much depth to the character. There's some few things with the Shokan Wars and things that happen in the comics that are kind of cool, but not enough to really win me over. Is making me think he's a solid character. So he's in the weak tier for now. Shang Tsung is a solid character in my opinion. He's the whole soul stealing to keep him young kind of thing is cool. Even like the twists that they did with him in MK1. Obviously one of the most iconic voices in the franchise, so you can't take that away from him. He's got to be more like, if these were ranked, he would be right at the front of the solid tier list, because yeah, he's just a cool character. Reptile is an interesting one to me. He is so close to being solid, but because they can't really decide what they want to do with him, I just kind of got to put him in weak, because he's like so different every time that we see him. It's just kind of hard to judge what they want to do. Like his MK Deadly Alliance was probably my least favorite of what he looked like. MK4 is probably like right behind there, but I think MK9 is probably like my favorite iteration of him, and then MKX is kind of meh, but he's just so different every single game. You don't know what you're going to get. Like, he's going to be a reptile in some aspect, but yeah, he's just too unpredictable for me. He has some really, really good designs, some really, really bad designs, so he's a weak character as far as I'm concerned. The Great Kung Lao, I really want to put in solid, but there's not too much that's known about him, and I've been waiting for them to do some sort of a add on to his story a little bit more and get to know the character a little bit. And like when Liu Kang goes back in time and meets him at the end of MK11, spoiler alert, but the game's been out for like 5 years now. I would have really liked to see them capitalize off that story and just see how they kind of go with the Great Kung Lao. So, and then there was just hard reset into MK1, so that was a little disappointing, unfortunately. Katana and Melina, I'm both going to put in solid. I think they're really creative, cool characters. The Bladed Fans with Katana is cool. Melina with her kind of half Tarkat is cool. Yeah, I think they're solid characters. They're definitely up there for sure. Jade sucks. There's nothing I like about that character. She's just boring. She doesn't really do anything out of the ordinary. Her story is her basically just being a servant. I guess the staff's okay as a weapon, but I just find her way too flat. She just doesn't do anything for me. Kung Lao is solid, even though I find him annoying. I can't help but, acknowledge that he is a fairly decently well fleshed out character. He's usually getting fucked over in one storyline or another, though. He's kind of a little bitch sometimes, so he's very annoying, but I can't deny that he actually is a pretty decent character. Next up is Baraka, and you want to talk about an absolute badass? That's Baraka. He's so cool, bloodthirsty, just freaking blades for arms. Like, it doesn't get cooler than Baraka. I think Baraka is my all-time favorite Mortal Kombat character, and I'm also a victim of that nostalgia because he was like my first quote-unquote main in Mortal Kombat 2. So I love Baraka. He's so cool, and even with his redesign into like, Black Parade style Baraka in Mortal Kombat 1, they still did that incredibly well and made it like super easy to feel for the guy, even though he didn't really change that much as far as like composure and stuff went. So yeah, Baraka definitely, he's my dude. Jax is okay. Again, I'm not a fan of the Special Forces characters. He is kind of a badass at times, though, especially in the MKX story mode. Coming from zombie, going back to human, so that's pretty cool. And yeah, again, Special Forces characters just don't really do it for me. Not a fan of them. Kintaro's cool, even though we don't really know much about him. He's just a cool design. I like him, like the kind of kitty cat Goro type of thing. I think he's a solid character. I wish we saw more of him. In MK2 we saw him, and then I don't think we saw him again until he was in Armageddon. I don't even remember his design in Armageddon, to be honest. But then in MK9 he just kind of, comes out and freaking burns a dude right away, so that's kind of cool. Oh yeah, Kintaro's cool. Smoke is a cool idea, I guess. He's a cool character. Not really one of my favorite types of characters, but as a moveset and stuff like that, and even like going between, Cyber Smoke and all that kind of thing, that's kind of cool, I will say. I'll give it to Smoke. A Noob Saibot, again, solid character. The whole Bihan thing, kind of the dark, broody character. I know a few people that would be into those types of characters, and although it's not really a character that I'm super into, I definitely can admit that they are pretty darn neat. So I'll put them in the solid tier for now. Shao Kahn is just a little bit too generic bad guy, similar to kind of Goro. Maybe big hammer, I smash, kind of a thing. Just doesn't really do it for me as far as the characters that I'm into type of thing. I'm going to put all of the robots here into solid because they're some of the characters that I've found are kind of fleshed out the most over time, and I really appreciate that. And like, there's been so many different backstories and the whole Ling Kuei involvement and that kind of thing. I just find that so cool, like just the coolest. I would like to see a little bit more of a callback to them before they were robots, and maybe we'll see that in some MK1 story kind of stuff. It would be cool if they kind of, instead of doing a DLC add-on to the story, they just kind of like did a DLC, like here's a side story that was happening at the same time, and kind of focused on them, because they are mentioned in the story mode of MK1, but we never see them, at least not that I'm aware of. So Sindel's cool, and another one that's kind of flip-flopped over the years, the kind of Queen brought back from the dead, cool concepts and all that, the cool screaming and whatnot. Not really a character that I would usually be into, although I did play a season of Kombat League with her in MK1, and I had a lot of fun. I think she's a super good character. Just design-wise isn't a character I'm super into. Shiva, again, I think is kind of a weak character. More of a servant, not much of a personality. She cares deeply for Queen Sindel, and that's pretty much her whole personality. And there's not really much else outside of, I think she was part of the Shokan Wars. I wish they'd dive into that too. There's so much story, there's so much lore to this. I can't believe that they haven't come out with more story stuff. There's so many different characters and so many ways you can go with this. Cabal's cool, the hook swords, the budget flash kind of thing going on with the speed, the gas blast, the mask. I think his design is super cool. Definitely one of the more solid characters in the franchise, and not really my jam again as far as a character, but I can definitely respect him, and I think that he's pretty good at what he does, and he's designed quite well. Nightwolf, and this might surprise people, but he is one of my favorite characters in the franchise. I don't talk about him a whole lot because he's never really fit my play style as far as gameplay goes, but being a First Nations guy myself, it's always cool to see representation out there, and he's just such a proud warrior, and he's just like such a loyal guy, even when he gets screwed over in the MK11 story and stuff, he's just a cool guy. I really like him, and his design is cool, and his special moves are cool, and the way that he uses like the spirit animals in MK11 is like super fun. So yeah, he's definitely one of my favorites in the franchise for sure. Motaro's okay, but I think I'm starting to think it's just like a boss thing for me. I don't like the big boss characters. Kind of boring. He's original, I'll give him that. He shoots fireballs out of his tail. He's like a centaur, and I don't know if it's the same in MK3 because I don't really remember, but I liked in MK1 how they made him like a cyborg centaur. That's kind of cool. But just overall, there's not much to him. He's just a boss. He's there to beat you up. It just doesn't do it for me. Striker is a character that I could see never again, and I don't really care for because he's just a cop. He's just a dude that found his way into this, and he doesn't really do it for me at all. The closest we got to a personality was when I think Matt Mercer voiced him in MK9, and even then he wasn't that interesting. It was just generic cop moves, police brutality coming up. That didn't age well. So yeah, I would not be sad if we never saw this character again. Error Macro he's a neat concept. He's a cool character. The whole soul being thing is neat. Not really a character that I particularly care for, but I can't deny that he's a pretty solid design. It's everything he does, and it's just the concept of his character is pretty neat. But he's just, we are many, you are but one. That's just not my thing. Rain is cool, and he's not enough to be like one of my favorite characters, but the fact that he's kind of just based off a play on words with Purple Rain and being a prince is pretty funny, and I definitely appreciate that type of thing from NRS. Yeah, there's I don't know, his whole design and concept and the fact that he exists is pretty funny. So even that in itself I have to put as a super solid design. I think that's hilarious. Both the chameleons I think are solid. I really was hoping to see them in this game as well. And I hope to see the male chameleon. Would be shocked at this point if we didn't. I think we will see male chameleon in the second combat pack, if the game makes it that far. And I think he'll be probably designed similar to the female chameleon, but I don't know if how his moves will work. Like, they're not going to do the same. I think that would be a little bit too cut and paste. I think they'll do the same idea where he steals the moves from different characters, but that the way that he has access to them will be different. And in my mind, anyways, it would have to also be different than how Tremor does his. So it'll be interesting to see how they kind of implement that when they decide to release them, because I'm like 99.9% sure that he's coming out as a cameo. He won't be a character, I don't think, but mind you, they could do that as well. They could make him a character, and you wouldn't have to worry about being too cut and paste. I didn't even think of that. Look at me coming up with my own ideas. Tremor's cool. I like Tremor. I'm putting him in as a solid character. I firmly believe he is a rock solid character design. In all his appearances, he's been cool, though, I will say. The Earth Ninja. And this next one, surprising absolutely nobody. Quan Chi, we can just see never again. Like, he's so okay, I'm not fooling anyone with that. Yeah, he's one of my favorite characters. But what's weird, and I may have talked about this at some point in time, I never intended to play Quan Chi. Like, before MK9, I had zero interest in this character. I played him a little bit in Armageddon because he had some funky stuff, but I really didn't care at all. It wasn't until I saw the Rune Trap and I was like, that's broke as fuck, I want to play this character. And then everyone was like, oh, he's so bad, and I'm like, no, he's not. And I kind of championed him, and that's when I became the Quan father. And at one point people were trying to make Quan Jesus a thing, but never caught on. But yeah, so he was just kind of just bonded on me, and now he's just my guy. He's just my dude. I don't even play my favorite Mortal Kombat character, Baraka, because I have Le Quan Chi. You know what I'm saying? He's here. He's back. Every once in a while, I feel about picking up Baraka in MK1, and I just don't see an original way to play him that interests me, unfortunately. Anyways, that's a side tangent that I didn't really mean to go on there. On a serious note, I don't like Shinnok. I hope we never see him again. I think he's boring as a villain, and he's just kind of the I will cut Earthrealm kind of a thing. I think you can come up with a much, much better. He's basically a blander Quan Chi, and I don't really care to see that again. So, never again for Shinnok. Serena is also one of my favorite characters, and she's just one of those characters that I want to see more of. I want to see more story stuff. She's in the MK1 story, but she never says anything. Or maybe I think she has one line, now that I think about it. So I think it's Darius that doesn't say anything. But yeah, I wanted to see more focus on her. Like, I think her design here isn't as good as her design in the MKX story mode, where she's a little bit more humanoid looking, a little bit more kind of how Mythologies was. So I was really excited to see her in the story mode, and she was cool in Armageddon. And yeah, I just want to see her more. She's really, really coolly designed character. She has cool weapons. She has cool lore. Like, I don't know, she's just super cool. Kind of undead lady, Her sisters, on the other hand, I just don't really care for. They're just kind of throwaway characters. There's some mentions of them in MK1, in her moves list and stuff, but I don't care to see them again. Serena is definitely the coolest of the three. I don't think you can really outshine her. Fujin, I'd say, is weak. Wind God, not super original. Special moves, surprising absolutely no one. He uses wind. Yeah, not super cool. Reiko is a fun one. This is a fun one for me because I actually think he's a solid character design because he's actually kind of funny. Like the way that he just like, it's just has such a hard on for Shao Kahn, even to the point where he just wants to wear his helmet, is so funny. And they brought him back, and his introduction in the Mortal Kombat 1 story mode is just the cringiest thing ever. Like he just feels like such the, you know, here we are, milady, you know, it comes out, let me protect you, milady, and he's just shadow boxing, you know, like it's so cringe, but I love it. It's so funny. And I'm not sure that's really how they intended him to be portrayed, or maybe they did. They hit the nail on the head really good with that one. So yeah, that's I think he's solid. I just find I'm probably not supposed to find him funny, but I do find him funny. Tanya's cool. I really liked her glow up in MK1. I thought it was really solid. I think it's probably one of her best designs ever. She's a little bit bland as far as, again, kind of like Jade being like, you know, just protector of whoever, but you know, her relationship with Melina and stuff, and just the weapons and her design and her little twister kick thing. I don't know. She's just cool. I just think she's a solid character. She's way more interesting to me than Jade. I don't really particularly know why, but she's just kind of, maybe because she hasn't even been around longer. I have no idea. I just think she's a solid character, though. Jarek just didn't deviate enough from Kano for me to really put him on this list. I think most people would probably agree with Never Again. His redesign in Armageddon was very interesting, but there's a different character that I think did what he did better. So yeah, I would not be sad if we never saw him again. Kai, I'm gonna put it weak because I didn't really care about him as a character per se, but I do think that we need to kind of focus a little bit more on different Shaolin and that kind of thing. His special moves didn't feel particularly unique, just like air fireballs and ground fireballs and that kind of thing. But if they gave him a cool redesign, I think he could probably work to come back as another Shaolin. But yeah, he needs to be. I like that he does the fireball similar to Liu Kang, but they need to do an ode to that and make it a little bit more original, I think. But as far as the design, I think he's okay. He's not. He looks cool, kind of looks badass, that kind of thing. Especially in Armageddon, his redesign there is super cool, absolutely cool. So. But not really solid enough for me to put him any higher than a weak character. But I would like to see him again, just a little bit more reimagined. Meat is absolutely hilarious. I just love the concept. We only saw him technically playable as his own standalone character in Armageddon, and I thought that was awesome. Giving him the butcher knives and like ripping his, like slapping his eyeball to like give him a power boost. Like, I don't know, there's people that are listening to this right now that don't have any idea what I'm talking about. But if you go on YouTube and look up Meat Armageddon, or maybe that's a series that I do. Maybe if you've never seen that, maybe I go back playing some Armageddon or some Deception and kind of show off characters that maybe you want to see more of and give a little bit of a breakdown. I don't know. Just an idea that I had. But Raicho is... he's supposed to be funny, and it's, again, this is my opinion, he just doesn't hit the mark for me. Like, the burping and farting thing is just, it doesn't do it for me. And he's supposed to be this master trainer, and I get the whole drunken master thing. It's just not my jam. I just find it more boring and flat than I do funny. You know, especially in Deception, some of his fatalities was just kind of cringe. But I can't say I don't like that type of humor. I do, but it has to be done a little bit more cleverly than what they did here, and he just doesn't do it. I do like Madame Bo, though. I think I would have put Madame Bo as a solid character. She's funny from start to finish. I thought she was hilarious, and I wanted to see more of her. But Bo Raicho, not my thing. Frost is super cool in my opinion. I think she's a little bit too angsty for me, but I think the design is cool. They did a really good job of making her stand out against Sub-Zero, being the same kind of cryomancy type of thing, but giving her own original moveset and stuff in all of her appearances. I think they did a very good job of that, because that was a really tough to kind of walk that fine line of how do we just make this a female-looking Sub-Zero. I think that's pretty cool. And even her as a cameo in MK1, super cool, unique ice moves that differentiate her from Sub-Zero. Yeah, I think they just overall did a great job with this character. Kenshi, I just think is kind of a weak character. Blind swordsman just kind of doesn't really do it for me. And he's just, again, kind of a flat personality. There's not much to him. I'm not really interested in learning about him. Everything that we've learned already is kind of, it is what it is. And yeah, I wouldn't say don't, never see him again, because, there is something to him in the way that he is kind of on with Earthrealm, and I suppose like the whole thing of him getting tricked by Shang Tsung, which the override of that in MK1 was very lackluster in my opinion. I would have loved to see him kind of go down the original story path rather than what transpired, but still, I'd be open to see him again because he's kind of a staple of the franchise at this point. So I just not my jam, doesn't interest me at all. Li Mei, one of my favorites of all time because she was the OG main. Although some of you know this, that I was super duper excited when they announced her for Mortal Kombat 1, and super duper disappointed when I got her design and her overall character and her personality, and I hated all of it. It was so disappointing for me because I had waited so long for her to come back. And my reaction to it was like super emotional, and then I played her in the beta, and I was beyond disappointed with what they did to my girl. So, but she remains one of my favorite characters. I'll always be stoked, and I'll always want to see a redesign if they ever want to go down that route again. MK1 is just not it though, just not at all what I wanted her to come out like. Natara's fucking sick. One of the coolest characters in the franchise. Definitely one of my favorites. I like what they did with her in MK1. I really do. I really wish we had a little bit more focus on her story and a better voice actress for her. But as a character, she's just so cool. She's just a cool idea. She has cool moves. She's a cool design. And yeah, she's just one of my favorites. And this next one here, Movado. This is a character I have been waiting forever to come back because first of all, he's everything that Kano isn't. He's way cooler. He's got these super original like elastic bandy moves, and I think there's just so many unique things that he could do with those. And then he's got the hook sword, so like arguably you could maybe give him a different weapon, but like just like the elastic bandiness. I remember playing him in like an Armageddon, and he's like moving like side to side, and like in a 3D game that's kind of a big deal. So like, yeah, he's super cool. He's probably like top 5 my favorite characters in the franchise, and I am so stoked for his cameo. And I would 100% run Quan and Movado if they have really good synergy. I'm super stoked to see what this cameo does, and I was super excited to see that they were bringing him back. So these next ones are throwaways, so this will be a bit of a lightning round. Suhao, never again, not interesting. Mocap, I like to shout out to the motion capture, Carlos Piscina, I think. Respect that, but I don't want to see him again. Draman, don't want to see him again. Moloch, don't want to see him again. There's some obvious ones there that just want to speed through, get them out of the way, and I really don't have anything more to say about them. I don't care. They were one-offs that, in my opinion, didn't work, and yeah. Good riddance, as Green Day would say. The whole story behind Blaze is cool. I put him in solid because, yeah, like he's the catalyst for these two brothers to kind of fight over and get, his special power, and everyone finds out, and they're like, oh, well, I want that power. And Blaze is at the top, and he's like, ah. And then I don't know if he realizes that he's like only supposed to be helping the two brothers. I actually don't remember how that part of the story goes. If you remember, tell me, but I know that I think it's Deception Unchained, there's like a small Blaze, and I actually have not heard anything about his story, about what his deal is, but yeah, Unchained was like specifically for a handheld console, I think. I can't really remember, But yeah, he just kind of appeared in there. That was the only time that we saw the small blaze. Ashura, I put in solid. The idea of a demon purifying herself through using a sword, and she has one of the best glow-ups of the 3D characters that I think in MK1. Like, just giving her that almost humanoid design. Like, she's so close, but you can still see, like, the demon on her face is just so cool, and just her wanting to find and catch Quan Chi. Like, I don't know. She's a cool character. Not enough to be one of my favorites, but she's definitely a cool character. Havoc, again, really, really cool character. A little bit too edgy of a redesign, in my opinion, for MK1, but I'm just glad he's back with some of his iconic moves. I like the way that they redesigned him and all that stuff. So yeah, solid character. I think he's cool. Cleric of Chaos and all that kind of thing. Yeah, he's cool. Darius, I put him as weak. He's not... doesn't interest me a lot. You know, he doesn't interest me too much as a character. I like the whole being part of the rebellion thing with Havoc. That's neat. But they need to define him a little bit more as his own character. Even back in Deception, he was just kind of like, hey, I'm here for a rebellion. Okay, bye. It's like, okay. You just threw him in there, you know. So I'd be open to seeing him again, but I really hope that they do a little bit more with him than just kind of throw him in as leader of the resistance kind of thing. This one's a funny story because I never cared to see Shujinko again. Like, given my gamer tag, that's probably funny. But no, I never really cared to see Shujinkydink again. But with MK1 launching and using him as a cameo, he is so funny. Like, stealing moves, like when he does Kitana's like booty bounce, I laugh every time. And like the little smirk he gets on his face when he like just like recharges fully after meditating is hilarious. And yeah, so those things alone, and also like, so I get asked a lot, and I've told this story a few times, so I'm going to tell it again just for those that maybe don't know it, but people ask where I came up with the name Shujinkydink, and it was back in the day when I was playing Deception. I was playing online, I was having some drinks, I was a little tipsy, and the guy that I picked Shujinko, and then he also picked Shujinko, and I went to say, what a coinkydink, we both picked Shujinko. And I said, what a Shujinkydink, and then I couldn't finish the sentence because I started laughing so hard, and I quit the match, and I immediately changed my gamer tag. So that's the origin story of my name. It has nothing to do with the fact I care about the character that much. It was just a funny little pun that happened in the moment. So yeah, you're welcome. If you didn't know, if you don't know now, you know, kind of thing. Dairu, never again. Sounds like the NRS kind of felt the same way by the whole Havoc thing. Hotaru, I think, is actually solid, and I think one of the reasons, so this is kind of interesting to me, one of the reasons I think he's solid is he's in direct opposite of Havoc. And I think if you have one, you should also have the other. And they don't really stand out as much individually unless you do. And that's why I think they'll probably bring Hotaru back as a character. And again, kind of unique design. He's got the flags on his back, and he's got the big spear kind of a thing that he uses. He's very much order. And I'd really like to hear the opening dialogue between these two in an actual match, because I think it would be super interesting what they could come up with there. But yeah, I think that if they do him right and with a good redesign, you know, especially with Havoc seemingly being like the main villain in the upcoming story expansion, I think that Hotaru making an appearance would be totally fitting. I think they could do him really well. He's not really my type of character to play, but I just think story-wise, he makes a lot of sense. So Kira, I will say never again. Like, I would be fine with never seeing Kira again, but I wouldn't be like opposed to seeing like a different version of like what she was trying to be. Like, she was trying to be like a Kano replacement, but they just didn't do her story enough to make her interesting, you know? So having, you know, like the female Kano exist, I'm not opposed to. I would like to see that, but I would like to see them be a little bit more original with it than what they were with Kira. Cobra, on the other hand, no. I mean, are you just trying to clone Ken Masters now? Like, is that where you've gotten to? Your originality's just gone? Like, no, that's just never again, please. Onaga is absolutely sick. I think he's a solid character, and I remember hearing a theory back in the day, and this was years ago, and I don't exactly know if it went anywhere, if it had any backing to it, but Onaga was meant to be the dragon that was on the original Mortal Kombat logo. And again, I don't know how much truth, if any, or if it's something that somebody just made up, but the whole premise of Mortal Kombat was to have the Dragon King, which is the dragon on the Mortal Kombat logo, come back and you fight him. And then eventually they did it with Onaga coming back. Why they chose the timeline when they did, I have no idea. But yeah, that's interesting, quote-unquote, conspiracy theory, and I don't really know if that's the case or why I think that. Could just be completely have manifested out of nowhere somehow, but that concept's pretty cool, I think. Taven and Dagon are both solid, and I think I say this mainly because their storylines are very clear-cut. They both went opposite ways. One woke up earlier than the other one, and they still managed to make it at the same time at the race. So yeah, I just think they're very fleshed out because obviously like the whole game is about them, and I think they did them pretty well. I was happy with them. Yeah, not a character I would probably ever main, but I would really like to see them again in some aspect. I would even like to see them back in DLC as characters. You know, it would be interesting to see how they would fit in the current MK1 story mode. Cyber Sub-Zero is one that I don't really care if we ever saw again. He kind of seems like an MK9 gimmick. That it was just like, whoa, what if this happened, you know, kind of a thing. And yeah, it was cool, I guess, and he had some interesting things in MKX, but just wasn't for me. I would be fine if we never went down that route again. I like the idea of the storyline, and what if Sub-Zero was the one that turned into, you know? But, I'd be fine not seeing him again. Scarlet's actually sick. Like, actually such a sick character. Started as a rumor, I believe, in MK1, MK2? I think it was MK2. And yeah, they actually turned her into her own character in MK9. She didn't have any voice lines or anything like that. I think they just actually made noises for her. But I think that was the case with all of the DLC characters, except for, I want to say Freddy for some reason, but maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, and in my opinion, the actual best voice in Mortal Kombat 11. Like, her voice was so good. It fit her character so well. They did such a great job casting that. It's one of my favorites, and I definitely want to see her as a staple for the game. I don't know if she'll make main roster on MK1, but she will appear, I'm almost certain, in some aspect, whether it's character or cameo. I think she would actually maybe make a cooler cameo than she would a character, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you think differently. I don't know. That's just my 2 cents on her. Cassie Cage I'm going to put in the same boat as the rest of the whole Special Forces people. Not really my jam. Don't find them really original or interesting. She's quirky and she's kind of funny, so I kind of like that. I liked her design better in MKX than I did in MK11, I think. It's weird because like in her intros in MK11, like she's so inconsistent. Like her intros are funny and quirky and stuff, but she's so like serious and solemn in the story mode, you know? Whereas like in MKX, you see a little bit of that on both the story and the intros. Her MKX intros are some of the best of all time. I love them. I think they're hilarious. And MK11 ones are good too. But again, that contrast between how she is in the story mode and how she is in the intros kind of just throws me off. Devora is super original idea. One of my favorites in the series. You know, I've played her in the past. I like her. I didn't really care for her in MK11. Her redesign was kind of meh. I liked her in MKX. And again, the whole kind of third person thing and the being the bug lady, the things that you can do and the creativity that you can have with that is super duper cool. And yeah, I would love to see her again. Definitely one of my favorites to see in the franchise. And yeah, just super original. Just what a cool idea. A bug lady. It's cool. Probably done before, but I don't care. Still cool. Aaron Black, solid character. Not much else to say. Actually surprised me that I liked him that much because he's just a cowboy. Like, I think he's from Texas. And he's in this crazy world with all of these magical beings and stuff. But they just did him super cool. I like his voice actor. I like everything he does. They did him really well for something that seems so generic on the surface. And they did a good job giving him character and making him fit into this world where otherwise he probably wouldn't have fit. So yeah, solid character. Ferritor, same idea. Definitely a character that's been done before, especially in other fighting games, but really just made them cool, and really stoked to see them again. Farah apparently will be a cameo, and similar to Darius, I expect us to be able to like toss her around and stuff, so it'll be interesting to see how that works. Jackie, Kung Jin, and Takeda, same idea. Special Forces, Combat Kids, not really my thing. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put Takeda in solid, because I think like his weapons are super unique. Even going from using like his variations from using the bladed whips to the lightsabers, I think out of all the Combat Kids, he's the one that kind of stands out the most to me. And I'm stoked that he's DLC, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with him. Because yeah, I think he's probably the coolest as far as design-wise go, and he's a little snarky, so I like that about him too. But yeah, the other one's kind of forgettable. Kotal Khan, again, it's just boss character kind of feel. You know, there's nothing too original that stands out to me about him. We get to hear a lot of his story, which is kind of cool, but he just doesn't really do it for me. He's a little bit all over the map, and got that thing with Jade going on, but yeah, he just doesn't really do it for me. So yeah, I don't really have much else to say about that. We got Cyber Smoke again. I already talked about the robots. Cetrion. This is a bit of a love-hate relationship. I'm not gonna lie. I am gonna put her on the weaker side. I don't think that I would like to never see her again, but it's just I don't know how you would do her originally. You know, like, she's there to serve her mother. She's loyal to the end. I mained her because she was one of the only zoners in the game in Mortal Kombat 11. But I would be surprised if they found a way to do her differently, unless you did like a previous story of her, perhaps, like maybe before Chronica. I don't even know how you would do that. But yeah, that's Cetrion. You know, mained her in MK11. Collector, weak, boring, just a grunt. I guess some of his moves are kind of original, but not really enough for me to care. Garrus is cool. Garrus's moveset is super cool. His design's super cool. The way that he manipulates sand and stuff, I love it. I love everything, and what they did with him in MK1, being like the protector of the hourglass kind of thing, is super cool. So yeah, Garrus definitely is almost one of my favorites, but a solid design so far. Chronica sucks. Let's never see her again. And of course, Cole Young. I don't really care to see him again either, although we will with the Mortal Kombat 2 movie not filming, or finished filming, sorry now. So he's going to be part of our Mortal Kombat cinematic history. But I hope we never see him in a game. I don't want him to be in a game ever. You keep your movie out of my Mortal Kombat. And that's it. Every Mortal Kombat character ranked from my best favorite to never want to see again. Where did my opinion land you? Where is your character? Did I do them dirty? Is there something more you need to say to defend your character? Let me know in the comments down below. And that being said, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, because it really helps me out, and subscribe if you haven't, because I make new videos almost every single day. Hashtag Bonehawks, all that stuff, and we'll see all you Bonehawks in the next video.
Accept your death.